On my daughter's birthday, I hid in the closet to surprise her with gifts, but my wife walked in and started recording a video. What she said made my stomach drop. The closet smelled like cedar and old shoes. I was crouched between winter coats and storage boxes, holding a massive stuffed unicorn that had cost me $200 at Target, the one my daughter Lily had been begging for since July. My legs were already cramping. I'd been hiding for 20 minutes, waiting for the perfect moment to burst out and yell surprise when Lily came home from her grandmother's house. She was turning 6 today, 6 years old. I could barely believe it. The bedroom door opened at 3:47 p.m. Footsteps crossed the hardwood floor, but they were wrong, too heavy. Adult footsteps, not Lily's excited little kid run. My wife, Amber, walked past the closet, her phone already out, screen glowing. She stopped in front of our bed, angled the phone toward herself, and hit record. I could see her through the gap in the closet door, see the red recording light, see her face transform into something I didn't recognize. "Okay," she said to the camera, her voice shaking with manufactured emotion. "I need to document this before I lose my courage. My name is Amber Cross, and I need to tell the truth about my husband." My heart stopped, actually stopped for a second before slamming back into overdrive. My name is Michael Cross. I'm 34 years old, a senior software engineer at a tech startup in Austin, Texas. I'd been married to Amber for 8 years, together for 10. We'd met at a friend's birthday party in 2013, hit it off immediately, got married 2 years later in a small ceremony at her parents' ranch in Fredericksburg. Lily had been born a year after that, October 2018, the single best thing that had ever happened to me. I thought we were happy, genuinely happy. We had a nice house in Pflugerville, a neighborhood with good schools and parks. I made decent money, around $130,000 a year. Amber worked part-time as a dental hygienist, 20 hours a week, mostly for the social interaction and the health insurance. We split household duties fairly, took family vacations to Port Aransas and Galveston, had date nights twice a month. Normal life. Good life. Or so I'd thought. But lately, things had felt off. Small things at first, easy to rationalize. Amber had been on her phone constantly, always angled away from me when she typed. She'd started asking weird questions about my salary, about my stock options, about the house deed and our bank accounts. She'd become distant, irritable, picking fights over nothing, loading the dishwasher wrong, forgetting to buy the right kind of milk, leaving my gym bag in the hallway. I chalked it up to stress. Maybe postpartum depression that had never fully resolved, maybe just the normal ebb and flow of marriage. Now I was crouched in a closet, listening to my wife record a video about me, and every red flag I dismissed came rushing back with perfect clarity. "Michael has been abusing me for years," Amber said to the camera, her voice trembling with practiced vulnerability. "Emotionally, financially, and recently it's gotten physical. I'm scared, I'm terrified, but I have to protect my daughter. I have to get us out before it's too late." My hands started shaking. The unicorn's synthetic fur felt wrong against my palms, too soft, too innocent for what I was hearing. This wasn't real. This couldn't be real. "He controls all our money," Amber said to the camera, her voice breaking with tears, actual tears streaming down her face. "I have no access to our accounts. He monitors everything I do. He tracks my phone, reads my messages, won't let me see my family without permission. Yesterday, he grabbed my arm so hard he left bruises." She pulled up her sleeve, showed the camera her forearm. I could see from the closet there were bruises, dark purple marks that looked fresh, painful, real. Except I had never touched her, never. Not once in 10 years had I ever laid a hand on her in anger. I didn't control her phone, didn't monitor her messages, didn't restrict her access to money. We had joint accounts. She had her own credit cards. She went wherever she wanted, whenever she wanted. Everything she was saying was a lie, a complete, calculated lie. I'm recording this because I don't know if I'll survive long enough to tell someone in person, she said to the camera, her voice breaking. If something happens to me, if I disappear or end up in the hospital or worse, please know that Michael Cross did this. Please protect my daughter. Please don't let him get away with this.
She hit stop. The recording light disappeared. Amber stood there for a moment, wiped her tears, checked her appearance in the reflection of her phone screen. Then she smiled. Not a sad smile, not a relieved smile, a satisfied smile. The smile of someone who just nailed a performance. She opened her camera roll, watched the video she'd just recorded, nodded to herself, and sent it somewhere. I watched the sending animation complete. Then she left the bedroom, closed the door behind her, and I was alone with a $200 stuffed unicorn and the complete destruction of everything I'd believed about my marriage. I stayed in that closet for another 5 minutes, trying to process what I'd just witnessed. My wife had just recorded false evidence of abuse, had manufactured bruises somehow. I didn't know how yet, but they were fake. They had to be fake because I'd never hurt her. She'd created a video that could destroy my life, my career, my relationship with my daughter, and she'd done it calmly, deliberately, like she'd been planning it. I'd been working from home for the past 3 years, since the pandemic. My office was downstairs. Amber knew my schedule, knew I'd be at my desk during the afternoon. She thought the bedroom was empty, thought she could record her lies in private. She hadn't known I'd come upstairs early, hidden in the closet with birthday presents, planning a stupid surprise that now felt like the only lucky break of my life. Because if I hadn't been here, if I hadn't seen this, I'd never have known what was coming. I would have been blindsided when she filed for divorce or called the police or posted that video online. I would have had no defense, no preparation, no proof that she was lying. But I'd seen it. I'd witnessed the whole thing. Now I just had to figure out what to do with that knowledge. I waited until I heard Amber go back downstairs, heard the TV turn on in the living room. Then I crept out of the closet, left the unicorn on the bed, and grabbed my phone from my pocket. My hands were still shaking. I opened the voice memo app and realized with sinking dread that I hadn't been recording. I'd just watched my wife create false evidence against me, and I had no proof, no documentation, just my word against hers. And if she was willing to lie about abuse, willing to manufacture bruises, willing to cry on camera, who would believe me? I needed evidence, real evidence. I needed to know what else she'd done, what else she was planning. I went to my office downstairs, locked the door, and pulled up our shared iCloud account. Amber and I had set it up years ago for photos and backups. Never really used it for anything important, but we'd never turned it off either. I logged in, navigated to her phone's backup files. It took 15 minutes to download everything. Her messages, her photos, her app data, her browser history. What I found made me want to throw up. Text messages with her sister, Rebecca, going back 3 months. Rebecca had apparently been coaching her through this whole thing. The texts laid it all out with shocking clarity. "Did you get the bruises done?" Rebecca had texted on Monday. "Yeah, makeup artist friend did them. Look totally real. Gonna photograph them tomorrow," Amber had replied. "Good. Remember, you need documentation, video, photos, witnesses if possible. The more evidence of abuse, the better your case." I know. Michael's income is perfect for maximum child support. Plus, his stock options are about to vest. Timing is everything. My vision blurred. I had to read that twice to make sure I wasn't misunderstanding. "What about Lily? Think she'll back you up?" Rebecca had asked. "I've been working on that. She's 6, easy to coach. I'll tell her daddy was mean to mommy. See if she repeats it to the therapist I'm taking her to next week." I literally couldn't breathe. My daughter. They were planning to manipulate my daughter into lying about me. I kept scrolling, found a draft GoFundMe page Amber had been working on. The title, "Help Me and My Daughter Escape Domestic Violence." The description painted me as a monster, a controlling abuser, a threat to their safety. She'd even included photos, pictures of her with carefully applied makeup bruises, pictures of Lily looking sad, a picture of our house with the caption, "The prison I'm trying to escape." The fundraising goal was $50,000. In the notes section, she'd written reminders to herself. Post this after filing restraining order. Need police report first for credibility. Consider local news interview. Reach out to domestic violence advocates for platform boost.
This wasn't a cry for help. This wasn't a woman in danger. This was a calculated scheme to destroy me, take my daughter, steal my money, and profit from sympathy. I found emails to a divorce attorney, a woman named Patricia Lynch, who specialized in high-conflict custody cases. Amber had been consulting with her for 2 months. The email chain was detailed, strategic, cold. Patricia had laid out a roadmap: document abuse, file for protective order, get emergency custody, freeze marital assets, maximize child support, pursue alimony. Your husband's income makes this a strong financial case, Patricia had written. With documented abuse, you'll have leverage for a favorable settlement. He'll want to avoid criminal charges and public exposure. Most men in his situation settle quickly. Amber had replied, "That's the goal. I want enough to start over, enough so I never have to work again. He owes me that after everything I've sacrificed." I'd been married to this woman for 8 years. I'd trusted her, loved her, built a life with her, and she'd been planning my destruction like it was a business transaction. I checked the timestamps on the messages. This had been going on for at least 4 months, maybe longer. All those late nights on her phone, all those questions about my finances, all those manufactured arguments, it had all been set up, building a narrative, creating a paper trail. I found more photos in her hidden album, dozens of them. Pictures of her with makeup, bruises in different locations, different angles, different severities. Pictures of our house that she'd staged to look messy, chaotic, like we lived in dysfunction. Pictures of Lily crying, probably taken after normal kid meltdowns, but framed to look like evidence of trauma. There were also screenshots of articles about domestic violence, about custody battles, about how to prove abuse in court, about financial settlements in high-asset divorces. She'd been researching, planning, building a case against me while I'd been completely oblivious, working my job, playing with our daughter, thinking we were a normal family. My phone buzzed. A text from Amber. "What time are you picking up Lily from your mom's? Party starts at 5. I stared at it. The casual normalcy of it. The birthday party. Right. Today was supposed to be about celebrating our daughter turning 6. Cake and presents and games. Instead, I was sitting in my office looking at evidence that my wife was about to accuse me of abuse, take my daughter, and crowdfund her new life off lies. I couldn't pick up Lily. Not yet. Not until I knew what to do. I texted back. "Running late on a work call. Can you get her? I'll meet you at the house." "Fine," she replied. One word, no emotion. I waited until I heard her car pull out of the driveway. Then I started making copies. Downloaded everything from the iCloud backup to 3 separate external hard drives. Screenshots of every message, every email, every photo. Downloaded the video she'd recorded today. I found it in her camera roll backup, the one where she'd performed her abuse story to the camera. I saved everything in multiple locations, cloud storage, physical drives, emailed copies to myself at 3 different email addresses. If she discovered I knew, if she deleted everything, I needed backup. I needed proof that she was lying. By the time I finished, it was 4:35 p.m. The party was in 25 minutes. I had to go downstairs, pretend everything was normal, sing happy birthday to my daughter, and smile while my wife cut the cake. I had to act like I didn't know my marriage was a lie and my freedom was about to be stolen. I went to the bathroom, splashed cold water on my face, practiced looking normal in the mirror. Failed. I looked like someone had punched me in the gut, which, emotionally speaking, they had. When I came downstairs, Amber was in the kitchen setting up. Lily was running around the living room in her birthday dress, pink with unicorns, excited and pure, and completely unaware that her mother was planning to weaponize her against me. "Daddy!" she screamed when she saw me, running over to hug my legs. She was so small, barely up to my waist. "Where's my surprise?" I knelt down, hugged her back, tried not to let her see that I was breaking inside. "The surprise is later, sweetheart." She pouted but accepted it. Amber watched us from the kitchen doorway. Her expression was unreadable.
That night, after Lily went to bed, after we'd cleaned up wrapping paper and leftover cake, after I'd given Lily the unicorn and watched her face light up with pure joy, I knew I had to act fast. I couldn't let this play out on Amber's timeline. I couldn't wait for her to file false reports, to get a restraining order based on lies, to take my daughter away before I had a chance to defend myself. I needed a lawyer, immediately. I went to my office, closed the door, and started researching family law attorneys in Austin. I found Veronica Kane, partner at Kane & Associates, 18 years of experience in high-conflict custody and divorce cases. Her website said she specialized in defending against false allegations. Perfect. I called her emergency line. It was 10:47 p.m. on a Friday, but her voicemail said she'd respond to urgent matters within 2 hours. She called back at 11:23 p.m. "This is Veronica Kane. You said this was urgent. Mr. Cross, are you in immediate danger?" "No, but my daughter might be, and I'm about to be falsely accused of domestic violence." I spent the next 30 minutes telling her everything. The video I'd witnessed Amber recording, the text messages with her sister, the emails with the divorce attorney, the fake bruises, the manufactured evidence, the plan to coach Lily into lying. Veronica listened without interrupting. When I finished, she was quiet for a moment. Then, "Mr. Cross, I'm going to be very direct with you. If your wife files first, if she gets a protective order based on false allegations, you will lose access to your daughter immediately. The court will err on the side of caution. Even with evidence that she's lying, it takes time to unravel these cases. Months, sometimes years. By the time the truth comes out, the damage to your relationship with your child can be irreversible." My chest felt tight. What do I do? "We file first, tomorrow. Emergency petition for custody based on parental alienation and fraud. We present all the evidence you've gathered, the video, the messages, the emails, everything. We show the court that she's fabricating abuse allegations and planning to manipulate your daughter. We get ahead of her narrative." Can we do that? File on a Saturday? I can file emergency petitions any day of the week. That's what emergency means. But Mr. Cross, I need you to understand something. This is going nuclear. Once we file, your wife will know you know. She'll retaliate. She might accelerate her plans, file her own reports immediately, create more false evidence. You need to be prepared for a fight. I'm prepared. Good. Meet me at my office tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Bring every piece of evidence you have, physical drives, screenshots, everything. We're going to build an airtight case. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed next to Amber, watching her sleep peacefully, wondering who the hell I'd been married to for 8 years. Saturday morning, I told Amber I had to go into the office for a few hours. Server emergency. She barely looked up from her phone. Lily was watching cartoons in the living room. I kissed her goodbye, told her I loved her, and walked out, hoping I'd be able to come back. Veronica's office was in a high-rise downtown, all glass and steel. She was waiting in the conference room when I arrived, along with a paralegal named David and another attorney named Christine Foster, who specialized in family fraud cases. I laid out everything, 3 hard drives worth of evidence.
They spent 2 hours going through it all, taking notes, asking questions, building the timeline. "This is one of the most premeditated cases of fabricated abuse I've seen," Christine said when they finished. "Your wife didn't just lie, she constructed an entire false reality, manufactured evidence, recruited accomplices, planned financial exploitation. This is fraud. This is conspiracy. This is parental alienation. Can we stop her?" Veronica looked at me directly. "We can try. I'm filing an emergency ex parte motion for temporary custody. Ex parte means without her present, based on the urgency of the situation. I'm going to argue that your daughter is at risk of psychological harm from parental alienation, that your wife is planning to coach her into making false statements, and that immediate intervention is necessary. We have the evidence to support it. The texts about coaching Lily, the fake bruises, the recorded video, all of it shows intent to deceive the court and harm the child's relationship with you."
But you need to understand, Mr. Cross, family court judges are cautious. They've seen real abuse, real danger. Some judges will look at a mother crying on camera and believe her regardless of evidence. We might get a skeptical judge who thinks you're retaliating against a genuine victim. That's the risk. What are the odds? Honestly, 60-40 in our favor with this evidence. Maybe 70-30 if we get Judge Mary Ann Foster. She's known for being very attuned to parental alienation. We filed the petition at noon. Emergency hearing was scheduled for Monday morning, 9 a.m., Judge Foster presiding. Luck was on our side there. Veronica explained what would happen next. We'd present our evidence. Amber would be notified of the hearing Sunday evening to give her minimal time to prepare or retaliate, and the judge would make a preliminary ruling on custody pending full trial. In the meantime, I was advised to document everything, record all interactions with Amber, if Texas law allowed it, which it did. Texas is a one-party consent state, and avoid being alone with her anywhere that didn't have cameras. Saturday afternoon, I went home, pretended everything was normal, helped Amber make dinner, played with Lily, recorded everything on my phone, voice memos, video, every conversation. Sunday morning, Amber told me she had a headache and needed to rest, took her phone and locked herself in our bedroom for 3 hours. I knew what she was doing, preparing, coordinating, maybe even filing her own reports. At 6 p.m. Sunday evening, a process server knocked on our door. I answered it. The server handed papers to Amber while I watched. "Amber Cross, you're being served with notice of an emergency custody hearing scheduled for tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., Travis County Family Court." Amber's face went through several emotions very quickly: confusion, anger, shock, and finally, cold calculation. She read the papers while I stood in the hallway, trying to look neutral. When she finished, she looked at me with an expression I'd never seen before: pure hatred. "What the F is this, Michael? Emergency custody hearing? You're trying to take Lily from me?" I kept my voice calm. "I'm trying to protect her." "From what?" "From you lying. From you being a good mother. You're insane. You've lost your mind." She was already reaching for her phone, probably to call her attorney. I'd expected this. So had Veronica. "She, my attorney, had my permission to tell you," I said carefully, "that any statements you make right now could be used in court tomorrow. You might want to speak to your attorney before saying anything else." Her hand froze. She stared at me, and for the first time I saw fear in her eyes. Real fear, not performed fear. She realized I knew something, maybe not everything, but enough to file for emergency custody, enough to be a threat. "I have recordings, Amber," I said it quietly, calmly, "of things you've said, things you've done, things you've planned. You should talk to your attorney before this gets worse." Her face went white, then red, then white again. "You recorded me? In our home? You violated my privacy." "Texas is a one-party consent state. I don't need your permission to record conversations I'm part of, or to witness things you do in our shared home." She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. No sound came out. "I can't talk to you right now."
she finally said. "I'm calling Patricia." She went upstairs. I heard our bedroom door slam, heard her voice through the walls, angry and panicked, talking to her attorney. I texted Veronica. She knows something's wrong. She's calling her lawyer. Veronica replied immediately. Good. Let her panic. Panic makes people make mistakes. Record everything. See you tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. Lily came out of her room, confused by the tension. "Daddy, why is Mommy yelling?" I knelt down, hugged her. "Mommy's just stressed about grown-up stuff. It's okay. Want to watch a movie with me?" She nodded, and we went to the living room, put on Frozen for the 100th time. I held my daughter and tried not to think about the possibility that I might lose her. That night, Amber and I didn't speak. She stayed in our bedroom. I slept on the couch in my office, set my phone to record audio just in case. Heard her on the phone until 2 a.m., probably strategizing with Patricia. Monday morning came too fast and too slow. I got up at 6 a.m., showered, put on my best suit, navy blue, crisp white shirt, red tie, armor for court.
Amber was already awake, also dressed professionally. Cream blouse, black pants, hair pulled back, minimal makeup, no fake bruises visible today. We didn't speak. I'd arranged for my mother to watch Lily during the hearing. She picked her up at 7:30 a.m., confused about what was happening but willing to help. "Grandma's house," Lily cheered, oblivious. She hugged both of us goodbye, and I held on maybe a second too long. I arrived at Veronica's office at 8:30 a.m. She was ready, briefcase full of evidence. Christine there too as backup. We went over the strategy one more time. Present the timeline of Amber's planning, show the fake bruises, play the video she'd recorded, present the texts about coaching Lily, demonstrate a pattern of fraud and manipulation, make it clear that Amber was manufacturing an abuse narrative for financial gain. The courthouse was downtown, old building, wood paneling, fluorescent lights, the smell of coffee and stress. We got there at 8:50 a.m. Amber was already in the hallway with Patricia Lynch, her attorney. Patricia looked expensive, designer suit, perfect hair, the kind of lawyer who charged $600 an hour. They saw us. Amber's expression was murderous. Patricia's was professional disdain. Veronica ignored them, walked us straight into the courtroom. Judge Marianne Foster presided, 58 years old according to Veronica's briefing, 22 years on the bench, known for being no-nonsense, fair, and particularly sensitive to parental alienation cases after having seen too many children damaged by custody manipulation. We stood as she entered. She sat, opened the case file, looked over her glasses at both parties. "This is an emergency ex parte hearing regarding temporary custody of minor child Lily Cross, age 6. I've reviewed the petition filed by Michael Cross and the response filed this morning by Amber Cross. These are serious allegations on both sides. Let's proceed. Mr. Cross, you're alleging parental alienation and fraud." Veronica stood. "Yes, Your Honor. We have extensive documentation showing that Mrs. Cross has been manufacturing false evidence of domestic abuse, planning to falsely accuse Mr. Cross to gain advantage in divorce proceedings, and preparing to coach the minor child to make false statements against her father. We're asking for emergency temporary custody pending full trial." Judge Foster looked at Patricia. "Mrs. Lynch, your response." "Mrs. Cross denies these allegations entirely, Your Honor. This is a retaliatory filing by an abusive husband trying to intimidate his victim. Mrs. Cross has documented evidence of abuse and has every right to protect herself and her child." Judge Foster's expression didn't change. "Let's see the evidence. Mrs. Kane, proceed." Veronica connected her laptop to the courtroom display. "First exhibit," she said, "video recorded by Mrs. Cross on October 20th, the day of the minor child's 6th birthday. Your Honor, this video was recorded in the marital home when Mrs. Cross believed she was alone. Mr. Cross witnessed the recording from an adjacent room where he was preparing a birthday surprise." She played it. Amber's voice filled the courtroom, shakier here than it had seemed in person.
My name is Amber Cross, and I need to tell the truth about my husband. Michael has been abusing me for years, emotionally, financially, and recently it's gotten physical. I could see Amber's face at the defendant's table. She'd gone pale. Patricia leaned over, whispered something to her. The video continued. Amber showing her bruises, crying about financial control, about fear, about needing to protect Lily. Then the video ended. Veronica let the silence sit for a moment before continuing. Your Honor, every statement in that video is false. Mr. Cross has never abused his wife, never controlled her finances, never restricted her freedom. We can document this. But more importantly, we can prove that Mrs. Cross knew she was creating false evidence. Next exhibit. She pulled up the texts with Rebecca. These are texts between Mrs. Cross and her sister, Rebecca Thornton, dated October 18th and 19th, 2 days before the video was recorded. She highlighted the relevant messages. Did you get the bruises done? Yeah, makeup artist friend did them. Look totally real. Going to photograph them tomorrow. Your Honor, Mrs. Cross paid someone to create fake bruises so she could record false evidence of abuse. This was premeditated fraud.
Judge Foster leaned forward, read the messages carefully. Mrs. Lynch, do you have a response to this? Patricia stood, and I could see she was scrambling. Your Honor, these messages are taken out of context. My client was discussing a Halloween costume consultation. The reference to bruises was about special effects makeup for a party. Veronica didn't miss a beat. Then why did she show those same bruises in a video accusing her husband of abuse? Why did she photograph them and save them in a folder labeled Evidence on her phone? We have screenshots of her photo library organization. This wasn't Halloween makeup. This was fraud. She pulled up more exhibits, the GoFundMe draft, the emails with Patricia discussing litigation strategy from 2 months ago, long before any alleged abuse, the texts about coaching Lily to make statements against her father. Each piece of evidence landed like a hammer. I watched Judge Foster's expression shift from neutral to concerned to angry. She took notes, asked clarifying questions, examined the exhibits carefully. Patricia tried to counter, argued that Amber was protecting herself, that abuse victims sometimes plan their escapes carefully, that the evidence could be interpreted different ways, but it was weak, and everyone in the courtroom knew it. Finally, Judge Foster held up her hand. Enough. I've seen enough. She looked directly at Amber. Mrs. Cross, I'm deeply troubled by what I've seen here. If this evidence is authentic, and I have no reason to believe it isn't, given the metadata and context, you have committed fraud against this court before even filing anything. You have manufactured false evidence of abuse. You have plotted to manipulate your daughter into making false statements. You have conspired to destroy your husband's reputation and finances based on lies. I take these matters extremely seriously. Amber started crying, real tears this time, but not performed. These were tears of panic. Your Honor, I can explain. I was scared. I didn't know what else to do. Judge Foster's expression didn't soften. You could have filed for divorce honestly. You could have sought actual help if you were actually in danger. Instead, you chose fraud. She turned to me. Mr. Cross, I'm granting your emergency petition. Temporary sole custody is awarded to you pending full hearing. Mrs. Cross will have supervised visitation only 2 hours per week at a court-approved facility. She is ordered to have no unsupervised contact with the minor child until further notice. Amber gasped. Patricia started objecting, but Judge Foster cut her off. Furthermore, I'm referring this matter to the Travis County District Attorney's Office for potential criminal charges. Filing false reports, conspiracy to commit fraud, and child endangerment through planned psychological abuse are all criminal matters. Mrs. Lynch, your client is in serious legal jeopardy. Patricia sat down, whispering urgently to Amber. Veronica remained standing. Your Honor, we also request a restraining order preventing Mrs. Cross from disseminating any false statements about her husband, including on social media or through crowdfunding platforms. Granted. Mrs. Cross, you are ordered not to publish, post, or distribute any allegations about your husband without court approval. Violation of this order will result in contempt charges. Am I clear? Amber nodded, unable to speak. The adjournment is closed. Full trial is set for December 15th. Temporary orders remain in effect until then. The gavel came down. It was over. We'd won the first battle. I sat there trying to process that my daughter was safe, that the judge had believed me, that Amber's scheme had failed. Veronica squeezed my shoulder. Good. Now comes the hard part. The hard part? We have to actually prove all of this at trial. Today was preliminary. In 6 weeks, we'll have a full evidentiary hearing where everything gets examined in detail. Patricia will bring her own experts, try to reframe the narrative, argue that Amber's fears were reasonable even if poorly expressed. We have to be ready. I nodded. I understand. And Mr. Cross, you need to prepare for your wife to get desperate. People who are cornered do unpredictable things. Be careful. Document everything. Keep Lily safe. We left the courtroom through a side exit to avoid Amber. I drove straight to my mother's house to pick up Lily. She was playing in the backyard, chasing butterflies, unaware that her world had just shifted.
"Daddy!" she ran over when she saw me. "Can we get ice cream?" "Absolutely," I said, scooping her up. "We can get whatever you want." That night, after Lily was asleep in her room, I sat in my office and let myself feel everything I'd been holding back. Rage at Amber for what she'd almost done. Relief that I'd caught it in time. Grief for the marriage I'd thought I had. Fear about what came next. Because Veronica was right, 6 weeks until trial. 6 weeks of Amber knowing she'd been exposed, knowing she'd failed, knowing she was facing criminal charges. 6 weeks of her having supervised visits where she could try to manipulate Lily. 6 weeks of waiting to see if my temporary custody would become permanent. I pulled up my email, found a message from Veronica sent an hour ago. Subject, next steps. Mr. Cross, attached you'll find recommendations for a child psychologist. I strongly suggest getting Lily into counseling immediately. Dr. Grace Nakamura specializes in children affected by parental alienation. She can help Lily process what's happening and document any attempts by your wife to manipulate her during supervised visits. Also attached is information about home security systems. Please install cameras at all entrances to your house and a doorbell camera. If your wife shows up unannounced or violates the restraining order, we need documentation. Finally, please review your social media privacy settings. Block your wife and her family members. Don't post about Lily or the case. Assume everything you do online will be screenshotted and used against you. I followed every instruction, installed cameras that same night, scheduled an appointment with Dr. Nakamura for Wednesday, locked down my Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, blocked Amber's entire family. The next few weeks were surreal. I had full custody of Lily, which meant I was doing everything: morning routines, school drop-off, dinner, homework, bedtime, all the things Amber and I used to split. Lily kept asking where Mommy was. Why wasn't she coming home? I tried to explain in age-appropriate terms. Mommy and Daddy are having some grown-up problems, sweetheart, but Mommy loves you and you'll see her soon. But why can't she come home? Sometimes adults need space to work things out. It's not about you. You didn't do anything wrong. The questions broke my heart every time. Amber's first supervised visit was Saturday, October 28th, 1 week after the emergency hearing. The facility was a neutral location: white walls, children's toys, two-way mirror for observation. I dropped her off, watched through the window as Amber hugged her, both of them crying. I wanted to hate Amber completely, wanted her to be a pure villain, but watching her hold our daughter, seeing real pain on her face, made it more complicated. She'd done terrible things. She'd lied, manipulated, planned to destroy me, but she was still Lily's mother. The visit lasted 2 hours. When I picked Lily up, she was quiet, confused. Mommy says she misses me. She says she wants to come home. What did you tell her? I said I missed her too. Good, that's okay to say. The therapist, Dr. Grace Nakamura, met with Lily 3 times in November. After the 3rd session, she called me. Mr. Cross, I want to discuss what I've observed. Lily is showing signs of anxiety related to the custody situation, which is normal, but I'm also seeing evidence that your wife is attempting to influence her narrative during visits. What do you mean? In our sessions, Lily has repeated specific phrases that seemed coached. Daddy made Mommy sad. Mommy is scared of Daddy. These aren't natural statements for a 6-year-old. They're adult concepts framed in child language. When I ask Lily to explain what she means, she can't. She's repeating things she's heard, not expressing her own experiences. My stomach churned. So Amber's still trying to turn her against me? Yes. Despite court orders, despite supervision, your wife is using her limited time to plant suggestions. The supervisors have noted similar concerns. I'm documenting everything for court. Does Lily believe it? Is she scared of me? No, that's the important part. Lily's behavior with you is secure, affectionate, healthy. She's not afraid of you. She's confused by the conflicting messages she's receiving. My job is to help her process that confusion without being further manipulated.
November dragged on. I went to work, took care of Lily, prepared for trial. Veronica kept building the case. She deposed Rebecca, Amber's sister, who admitted under oath to helping plan the fake abuse narrative. She hired a forensic document analyst who confirmed the bruises in Amber's photos were makeup, not injuries. She got statements from Amber's makeup artist friend who'd created the fake bruises. The woman felt guilty and agreed to testify. Every piece of evidence pointed the same direction: fraud, premeditation, lies. But Patricia Lynch wasn't giving up. She filed motions claiming I'd illegally accessed Amber's phone, that the evidence was obtained through invasion of privacy, that the iCloud backup I'd downloaded constituted hacking. Veronica countered every motion. The iCloud account was joint, registered to both of us. I had every right to access it. The video I'd witnessed was recorded in our shared home, no expectation of privacy. Everything was legal. Patricia tried a different angle, filed a motion claiming that even if Amber had planned to lie about abuse, it was because she genuinely feared me, that her actions were self-preservation, not fraud. Veronica destroyed that argument by pointing out that Amber's texts showed financial motivation, not fear. The GoFundMe goal, the discussions about child support, the calculations about my income, it was all about money, not safety. The district attorney's office opened an investigation in late November. An investigator named Detective Raymond Burke, 15 years in white-collar crime, called me for an interview. Mr. Cross, I'm reviewing the evidence from your custody case for potential criminal charges against your wife. I need to ask you some questions. We met at his office downtown, spent 3 hours going through everything again. Detective Burke was methodical, skeptical, good at his job. He asked pointed questions about the timeline, about my relationship with Amber, about whether I'd ever given her reason to fear me. No, I said for the 100th time. I never hurt her, never threatened her, never controlled her. We had problems, like any marriage, but I never abused her. He showed me the video Amber had recorded, watched my reaction as I watched it again. That must have been shocking to witness. Beyond shocking. I was hiding in a closet, waiting to surprise my daughter with birthday presents. Instead, I watched my wife destroy my life in real time, or try to. Detective Burke nodded. Your wife's sister, Rebecca Thornton, confirmed under deposition that she helped plan this. The makeup artist confirmed she created the fake bruises. We have the text messages, the emails, the financial planning documents. This is textbook fraud. Will there be charges? That's up to the DA. But between you and me, yes, probably. Multiple charges. Fabricating evidence, conspiracy to commit fraud, potentially child endangerment, depending on how the DA interprets the plan to manipulate your daughter. Your wife is looking at serious legal consequences, beyond losing custody. By the time the trial date arrived, December 15th, I was exhausted. 6 weeks of single parenting, of legal preparation, of watching Lily struggle with confusion and divided loyalty. 6 weeks of supervised visits where Amber kept trying to plant seeds of doubt in our daughter's mind. 6 weeks of waiting for the other shoe to drop.
The trial took 3 days. Day 1 was opening statements and initial witnesses. Veronica laid out our case with devastating clarity. This is not a story about a mother trying to protect her child. This is a story about a woman who decided to manufacture false allegations of abuse to gain financial advantage in divorce proceedings. We will prove through documentation, expert testimony, and Mrs. Cross's own recorded statements that every allegation of abuse was fabricated. Every bruise was makeup, every tear was performance, every claim was a lie. Patricia countered with a narrative of fear. Amber Cross was trapped in a marriage with a controlling man. She felt she had no choice but to gather evidence, to prepare for escape, to protect herself and her child by any means necessary. Even if some of her methods were imperfect, her intentions were pure.
The jury, 6 men and 6 women, listened intently. Day 2 was our evidence presentation. Veronica called me to the stand first. I testified about the day Lily turned 6, about hiding in the closet, about watching Amber record her video, about finding the texts and emails and plans. Patricia cross-examined me aggressively. "Isn't it true, Mr. Cross, that you regularly monitored your wife's phone?" "No. I accessed a shared iCloud account we both used." "Isn't it true you controlled your wife's access to money?" "No. We had joint accounts. She had her own credit cards, full access to everything." "Isn't it true you have a temper, that you've broken things in anger?" "No. I've never destroyed property in anger." She produced a photo of a broken lamp. "What about this?" I studied it. "That's from 2019. Lily was 3. She knocked it over playing. Amber and I joked about it for weeks. It wasn't anger, it was a toddler accident." Patricia tried for an hour to shake my testimony. I stayed calm, factual, consistent. The truth doesn't change when you ask it different ways. Veronica called Rebecca Thornton next. Under oath, Rebecca admitted she'd helped Amber plan the fake abuse narrative, admitted they'd discussed financial strategy, admitted she'd coached Amber on how to make the allegations seem believable. "Why did you help her?" Veronica asked. Rebecca looked at Amber, then away. "She's my sister. She said she needed help getting out of a bad marriage. I didn't realize how far she was planning to take it until it was too late." "Did she ever tell you Michael was abusive?" Rebecca hesitated. "No, she said he was boring, that she'd married too young, that she wanted out but didn't want to lose the lifestyle." Amber's expression crumbled at that testimony. Her own sister had just contradicted her entire defense. Veronica called the makeup artist, Jessica Daniels, who testified about creating the fake bruises. "I specialize in theatrical effects makeup. Amber told me she needed realistic bruises for a project. I didn't know she was planning to use them to fake abuse. If I'd known, I never would have done it." She showed the jury comparison photos, the bruises in Amber's video next to samples of her theatrical work. Identical technique, obviously fake to a trained eye. Dr. Grace Nakamura testified about Lily's therapy sessions, about the coached phrases, about the evidence of parental alienation. Mrs. Cross has been using her supervised visits to manipulate the child's perception of her father. This is psychological abuse. The child is being weaponized in an adult conflict, and it's causing significant emotional harm. Day 3 was Amber's turn. Patricia put her on the stand. She testified about feeling trapped, about fearing me, about doing what she thought was necessary to protect herself and Lily. But under Veronica's cross-examination, she fell apart. "Mrs. Cross," Veronica began, "you testified that you feared your husband." "Yes." "Yet in your texts with your sister, you never mentioned fear. You mentioned money. You mentioned his income. You mentioned timing the divorce to coincide with his stock options vesting. Where's the fear in those conversations?" "Those were I was focused on practical matters." "Practical matters, like hiring a makeup artist to create fake bruises?" "I didn't think anyone would believe me without proof."
without proof of something that never happened. You recorded a video where you claimed your husband had physically hurt you. Was that true? It was true how I felt. That's not what I asked. Did your husband ever physically harm you? Amber looked at Patricia, at the jury, at her hands. No. Did he ever financially control you? No. Did he ever restrict your freedom, monitor your communications, or abuse you in any way? No. Then why did you say he did? Because I wanted out, and I knew this was the fastest way to get full custody and financial support. The courtroom went silent. Amber realized what she'd just said, tried to backtrack. I was confused. I was under stress. I didn't mean it that way. Veronica didn't let her recover. You didn't mean that you fabricated abuse allegations to gain advantage in divorce proceedings? That's exactly what you did, isn't it? Patricia objected. Veronica withdrew the question. It didn't matter. The jury had heard Amber admit under oath that she'd lied. Closing arguments were straightforward. Veronica summarized the evidence, the premeditation, the fraud, the calculated cruelty of trying to destroy a father's relationship with his daughter for financial gain. Patricia tried to salvage something from the wreckage, argued that Amber had made mistakes but was still a good mother, that supervised visitation was enough, that full custody wasn't necessary. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. Judge Foster read the verdict at 5:30 p.m. In the matter of Cross versus Cross regarding custody of minor child Lily Cross, this court finds that Amber Cross engaged in fraudulent behavior, fabricated false allegations of abuse, and attempted to manipulate the minor child against her father. The court awards sole legal and physical custody to Michael Cross. Amber Cross is granted supervised visitation 2 hours per week, pending completion of parenting classes and psychological evaluation. Furthermore, this court is forwarding all evidence to the district attorney's office with a strong recommendation for criminal prosecution. I sat there, trying to feel victorious. All I felt was tired. Lily was safe. That was what mattered. Everything else was just wreckage. 3 weeks later, Amber was indicted on 6 counts, 3 counts of fraud, 2 counts of conspiracy, 1 count of child endangerment. Her trial was scheduled for March. She ended up pleading guilty to 2 counts of fraud and 1 count of conspiracy in exchange for a reduced sentence, 18 months in county jail, 3 years probation, mandatory counseling, and a permanent record that would follow her forever. I didn't attend her sentencing. Veronica went on my behalf, sent me a text afterward. She cried, apologized to you and Lily through the court. Judge wasn't impressed. She'll serve at least 12 months. I read the message, felt nothing. Lily still asks about her mom sometimes. I've arranged for them to write letters, supervised by Dr. Nakamura. Amber is allowed to send cards for birthdays and holidays. The visits will resume when she's released. Still supervised, still limited, but maintained because completely cutting off a parent isn't healthy for a child unless absolutely necessary. Thanks for watching till the end. Make sure to subscribe and like to not miss the next.